So how many organizations here have used Facebook Live, broadcasting live? One time, couple people. All right, awesome. Okay, a couple people over there. Great. So how was the experience? I want to hear from, how was your experience?
We jumped on it at the last minute because you have to schedule them, unlike the Instagram Live. We got 20 people to show up and pay attention to it. If we had a week to plan for it and publicize it, I think it would have gone better.
Oh, okay, so you didn't, you just jumped on right away?
We were able to get in. I didn't actually do it. I was running the class. Our intern
Yep,
did it.
got it.
But yeah, we had guest artists coming from Sydney, Australia. They're at the Academy of Music. They taught a master class, and we said, "Oh my gosh, we have to show this. This is awesome."
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I love that. Like, hey, this is a possible opportunity. This is, you get an A+ today automatically because I'm telling you, the organizations, the nonprofits that are successful are the risk takers. They're the ones that aren't afraid to make a mistake, to get out there and just like, let's do it. And then, again, you learned, well, hey, maybe next time we should promote it. Maybe next time we should be more organized. And that's great, but it's awesome that you took that risk. So Facebook Live, for those of you who don't know, Facebook Live is, it lets any person or brand or nonprofit broadcast live video. So this is very different from just uploading a Facebook video. It's live streaming video right now as it's happening, okay? So it's kind of different, and I think for your giving day, I think it might be a great use of your time for two main reasons. One is Facebook Live can bring your supporters to where the action is. Normally they can't be where the action is, okay? But they can be where the action is. The action, hopefully, on the giving day, hopefully most of you are having events. If not, I highly recommend a physical event, even just a small one, because that is a rallying point and you get your core supporters there and they can be, supporting you. And then you can have something to talk about from that event. Maybe a story, maybe a volunteer story, maybe a story from, someone who's benefited from your work, and even giving updates during the day. I wouldn't, and I'm talking just about the giving day, I wouldn't recommend broadcasting 24 hours, okay? First of all, you're going to pass out, you're going to fall down, it's not going to be good. And the second part is that 98% of what you're going to have to say is just going to be nothing. It's going to be boring, okay? You just can't fill up 24 hours with good stuff. So pick some times and think about what you're going to broadcast, okay? And we're going to cover all the details. But the other thing about Facebook Live is that it actually creates a lot more awareness than any other type of content on Facebook, okay? So it's a newer technology to Facebook, so they give a preference in the news feed. So if something's live, they're going to give that a little bit more preference over other stuff. And the other thing about Facebook Live is that it's fundamentally different from any other piece of content in that it's an ongoing publication of content, okay? So when you publish a video, it's a one-time thing. Point, video's there, and it was published at a specific time, and people could always watch that video. That's great. They can watch it whenever. However, Facebook Live is broadcasting now. It's happening now. That's really important. So Facebook is going to they're going to push that out in the news feed a little bit more to your fans. And Facebook Live is basically, it's constantly pinging the news feed, for lack of a better word. But when you publish a video, actually, how many people are familiar with how the news feed works? Should I talk about that a little bit? Okay. So the news feed is Facebook's news feed is governed by an algorithm, which is very complex. It has a lot to it, but it's basically driven by Facebook users. Okay, it's 100% driven by Facebook users' behavior, and the algorithm is set up so that it will do its best. It's just a machine, but it does its best to try and provide each individual Facebook user with the most relevant, most interesting content in their news feed. Why do they do this? So that people can become addicted to Facebook. They're trying to sell ads. Again, that's their business model. They're a public company. They want people to be addicted. So, but also as a Facebook user, yeah, I kind of want the best stuff in my news feed. How many Facebook, as I think at one point they said that there are about 1,500 different pieces of content that are available to the average Facebook user. 1,500 in a 24-hour period. That's a lot. So Facebook has to make a lot of decisions. Is this really interesting or not? A lot of what governs it is the relationship that they have with your organization, right? So if someone engages with your page, they're telling Facebook, hey, I like this stuff from this page, and that will increase the likelihood that they'll continue to see the content in the news feed, okay? But with a Facebook Live video, so the way it works is that it's not like the content is automatically presented to the Facebook user. Right when they log in, it basically happens the instant someone logs in. So I'm on my iPhone right now. When I go to Facebook, right away, and I kind of scroll till I refresh the newsfeed, at that moment, the algorithm is quickly determining, of all the garbage we have to present to John, what's the most relevant and interesting garbage, okay? And so then I look, okay, my friends frequently that I interact with a lot, pages that I like, and the most interesting stuff based on my previous relationship, okay? That's basically how the news feed works. It's really all about the person's previous relationship with your organization. But however, with the Facebook Live video, because it's live, it's not like it's published and available. It's always available. So every time someone's logging in, that Facebook Live video is always in that queue for that person, okay? So it gets a lot more reach, a lot more eyeballs are obtained, I guess, through Facebook Live, okay? Now, it's pretty easy to use Facebook Live. I'm not going to do a live broadcast right now, but please use your Pages Manager app on your iPhone or your Android, the one that I just told you about earlier, all right? Don't use your regular Facebook. You're going to get confused. It's not going to work. You go to your Facebook page and you simply, tap on, there's a little thing that says live, okay? You click on it and you describe your live video. You just short and sweet describe what you're broadcasting. And at this point, they actually have new features. They're not showing it here, but they have new features that make it look like, they have filters like Snapchat type filters, different filters to make the image look brighter. They also have flip the image video, features, like you can flip the image either vertical or horizontal, which is great because many times I'd be on a Facebook, and I do Facebook Live videos every Wednesday, by the way. And during the video, sometimes I'll mention a book. Hey, check out this cool book. And then everybody will look at it and the words are backwards, okay? So that was a big problem with Facebook Live. Now you can flip the image so that it's reading correctly, okay? I guess what I want to leave you with is that it's pretty easy to use. You tap on this thing that says live, you describe your thing, and you click on broadcast, and then you're live, okay? But you are live right away, okay? So you don't want to say, hey, let's push the button and let's get all organized. No, you push the button right when you're ready to talk, right away, okay? Because again, people are going to see that in the broadcast, but also your Facebook Live video becomes a recorded video on Facebook. You cannot edit the video. You can't edit it. You publish it and it's live. So every time someone views that video in the future, you don't want to have the first 30 seconds being you trying to figure out things and whatnot. Just be totally ready and ready to go. So, Michael.
I was going to ask Caitlin to speak to something she just did during the break. She was telling me to avoid just winging it. But stand up. So.
Yeah.
So we just did a Facebook Live last week at Treehouse, and we had a whole script. I had a bullet point sheet behind the camera so that my CEO and her partner on screen talking would hit every point so they don't miss something like joining our Facebook or any of the details that we wanted to put in the video. Yeah.
You made it. You prepared.
Very prepared.
You prepared.
We advertised 2 days in advance, then a day in advance, the day of, and then did the video. It was scripted, planned, completely ready to go.
Yeah. It's live. That's why if you go to YouTube and you search like news bloopers, the reason why there's so many bloopers is because people are live and this stuff happens. So anything can really happen. But what you can do is you can reduce your risk by preparing, and that's a brilliant example, is to prepare that outline ahead of time. So let me give you just a couple of tips for your first Facebook Live video. Yes?
When you're broadcasting, you're only using your phone as your video, not a camera,
No.
not a computer?
You can't, there are some tools to use your laptop. There are third-party tools that you can look into, but most people use their iPhone. So I actually have a tripod. I set it up, it grabs the camera, and I just set it up there, and make sure you have lighting, good lighting. If you're indoors, you're going to need a lot of bright lights.
Yeah.
And, for me, it took a while to figure out where the camera should be positioned versus the light without having a big shadow behind me. So you have to be careful how you position the light. Generally speaking, bright light, but very far away and off to an angle. Don't have the light, so if the camera's here, if the light's back there, and, especially with glasses, it's like just lights, it doesn't look good. But if the light's over there, then it's still lighting, and maybe another light on the left-hand side, So tip number one, don't freak out. Mistakes will be made. Just accept this, that you're going to totally mess it up. Go into this with the acceptance that you could possibly mess the whole thing up, and it's all live, okay? No, I'm serious. The sooner you accept that and you're okay with it, the sooner you're going to get started. Now, you're going to do fine, but just accept that if it goes live. So let me give you an example. One time I did a Facebook Live video, and I wasn't prepared at all, okay? And I had a whole stack of books, and I was talking about a book giveaway. So I was presenting books, and all of a sudden in the middle of it, I got really nervous. I suddenly realized this is live right now. And I saw the numbers, 30, 40, 50 people viewing, and I just was like, suddenly I just was tongue-tied. And I was like, oh, and then somehow I got through it, and then, and I finished it up. But in the end, I didn't have a heart attack. Nothing was stabbing me or taking my blood, and I didn't die. I definitely lived, no problem at all. It was a very uncomfortable experience, but I made it, and I learned a lot through the experience, which was my lesson is always prepare, So mistakes will be made. You can get your feet wet with a small group of people, maybe using your own personal Facebook account if you wanted to. If you're a really super anxious person, try broadcasting to one person. You can actually create like a little friends list with your best friend and broadcast to that one person. If you want to do that, that's great, okay? Pick a topic that people want to talk about. Do not talk about your 100-year anniversary, okay? But, pick a topic that people want to talk about, trending news, frequently asked questions. I know many of you have frequently asked questions. I spoke with a woman earlier. She works for a behavioral health network, and there's a lot of frequently asked questions. How do I recognize if a friend is suicidal? What are the signs of suicide? Well, how do I know if I'm just sad or depressed? So with the topic, make sure you pick a topic that's highly specific, okay? Don't say, hey, how can we solve, global warming? That's just way too vague. People they're not going to be interested in it. But if you say, how to start a recycling program on your street, that's super specific, okay? So very specific. And what you're doing is you're providing kind of an insider view that people don't have access to, okay? Tell people when you're going live. I've worked with a few organizations. They say, hey, we did a Facebook Live video and only 3 people showed up. And I said, well, did you tell people ahead of time? No. Well, try doing that. Post an update on your page the week before, the day before. Include the date, the time, the topic. Send out an email to your community. And then tweet about it. If you use Twitter, tweet about it immediately. Like right when you go live, tweet about it, and then drive that traffic there, okay? So let people know, definitely. Make an outline, like this woman over here did, make an outline. And a simple outline should include introducing the topic or the event, right? So we're live at Valley Gives. Introduce your organization. Hey, this is John and so-and-so from this organization. We're live here, and we're going to talk about this specific topic. That's why I suggested on the Giving Day, don't broadcast 24 hours. Maybe pick 3 times and let people know ahead of time. At 9 a.m. we're going to talk about this. At 3 p.m. we're going to talk about this, okay? List the questions or make an outline, the interview questions or an outline. Always tell people before you conclude the broadcast, tell people what's next, okay? So if you share some really cool stuff or some great information, tell people what's next. Hey, if you want to learn more about this, visit our website. You know, don't forget to register for X, Y, or Z. If you want more stuff like this, join our email list. Always finish up with a call to action. And respond to comments. So again, this is the phone. I mean, you know, it's on a tripod. You can't comment while the broadcast is live. You can see the comments streaming, but you can't comment to them. So the only way to reply to comments is just call their name and read their comment and answer their comment, okay? And by the way, people love that.
While you're live.
While you're live, yes. But make sure, you know, don't answer comments all throughout, but just do your presentation or your whatever you have going on. And then say, okay, now we're going to answer some comments. And then just say, Jane is saying blah, blah, blah. Hey, Jane, thanks a lot. Great seeing you here. Acknowledge people. Call out their name, first name, not last name. Call out their first name. Read their question if they have one, or read their comment. And then reply to it in a way that feels natural. You know, it's a discussion, okay? Don't feel like you have to answer every single question, because you may get a lot of comments, but just, you know, pick and choose. You could also have a colleague with a laptop in the wings, kind of picking out comments for you and maybe even replying to a few, and you know, vetting the comments for you during the broadcast, okay? Make sure you have a healthy bandwidth. You will need a lot more bandwidth than normal for a Facebook Live video. When I say bandwidth, I mean, you know, your Wi-Fi signal and your wireless signal, the bars. You want 3 bars, 4 bars. I recommend to my clients that they have a contingency plan. So if you're suddenly, you know, if you go, let's say you're an environmental organization and you're involved in a beach cleanup, and then suddenly you realize, oh, Sprint doesn't have any towers at all near here. I have 1 bar, that's it. It's not going to work. And at that point, if you sent out an email to let people know about your broadcast and you cannot broadcast, you are in, you're in a little bit of a sticky situation. So make sure there's someone else who has the same capability but a different carrier, so you can always switch to that other person if you need to. Okay? Write a compelling description. Basically, it's just a title, what you're going to talk about. Keep it super specific. Like I said, the more specific and interesting, the better. Respond to commenters while you're happening, calling out their name, reading their comment, reply to the comment, all, you know, with your voice, right? You can always follow up with more information later in the video because it will be on your Facebook page. Say thank you, by the way, at the end of the video. Always say thank you and just express so much appreciation. Thank you so much for coming here. It really means a lot to us. We really appreciate everybody's comments. And even just name some people. Thank you, Jane, Julie, Bob, Mark, blah, 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 at the end. You know, really make it about them at the end, okay? You can also ask for follows. So during the broadcast, you can say, hey, you know, get notified about future broadcasts by tapping the follow button in the broadcast, and then they'll be notified on Facebook when you broadcast again, okay? Share the recording. So when you do a Facebook Live video, at the end, you'll have a couple options. One is save the video to your phone. Yes, you want to do that. Save the video to your phone. And then the second is post it, publish it. So the video is living on your page live, but it's not a permanent fixture until you publish it at the end of the broadcast, okay? Once you do that, then it's a piece of content with a date and time attached to it, and that you can edit, and it has a permalink and everything like that. And so you can go back and edit that video after. You can change the thumbnail. There's a video thumbnail that you can edit, and you can change that if you wanted to. But if you've invested a lot of time in a Facebook Live broadcast, this is a great piece of content, right? Don't just broadcast and publish and then move on to the next thing. Next week, the following week, reshare it and call out a specific part of the video. You know, hey, in this video, we talked about how to train your cat. And one tip in the cat training video is you cannot train your cat. And so, you know, you have an excuse to share the video, right? So my point is, like, keep resharing the video, you know, not every day, but, you know, a week, maybe 2 weeks later, maybe a month later. And then the last piece is to actually edit and repurpose the video. So who has the ability to edit, very simply edit video, slicing and dicing video? Okay, great. All right, awesome. So how many people have an iPhone? How many people have an Android? How many people don't want to tell me what kind of phone you have? Okay. So on your iPhone is literally editing software. So if you save the video, you go into your photo album, you tap on the video, and you can crop it. You can cut out the beginning, cut out the end. You can even create snippets. So you just save it as a new video, and you can create several little snippets from that live broadcast. So let's say, you know, based on the outline that you had, you covered, say, 5 different questions about a specific topic. Each one of those questions can be a separate video that you can now publish on Facebook again, publish on Instagram if it's less than a minute. So don't, you know, take advantage of the effort that you make to create a Facebook Live video. If you're going to create that, and by the way, you want to go live for at least 15 to 20 minutes. It's not a 3-minute broadcast, okay? You want to go 15 to 20 minutes or longer. I wouldn't go more than 45 minutes. But the reason why you want that is because the longer you are live, the longer Facebook continues to push it out to more and more people. Facebook realizes that this is a special moment. It's live. It's happening now, only now. Now's the opportunity. So they're going to push that out to more people during that period of time. At the end, when the video is published, the reach will kind of diminish pretty quickly. And then you can promote it after that, okay? Send a follow-up email as well, right? So in addition to promoting the video, tell people, hey, yesterday on Facebook we talked about this, and here's a quick outline. Check out the video, and we also want to hear from you. So leave a comment on the video as well. We want to hear your story, your ideas, your experience, okay? So always invite people to come back in. Yes?
Follow-up email, not a follow-up Facebook post?
You could, yeah, do both. Have a Facebook post publishing the video, you know, resharing the video the next day if you can, but also an email. Now I know, you know, it's hard. You don't want to send like 1 million emails to your supporters, right? But what I would recommend is include this in a newsletter, for example. You know, in a newsletter, which people are going to receive automatically, say, hey, mark the date and time for our Facebook Live broadcast. We're going to be talking about this topic. And then in the follow-up newsletter, say, hey, this is what we talked about last time. Next week's topic is this, or next month's topic is this, you know, depending upon the rhythm of that newsletter, you know?
John.
Yes. Yes.
So my organization is, we're a community boathouse. We have a very active community, very picturesque. I think would be great for this application.
Yeah.
If we capture something inappropriate, say an F-bomb or a wardrobe malfunction,
Yeah.
it sounds like when the video is done, we could save it and then crop out those parts, but it would never, we could then repost it as a video.
You can repost it as a video,
It
for
would
sure.
never be that live. Can we choose to take the live video to not put
You can not publish the live video if you wanted to. Yes, if the wardrobe malfunction happens, then at the very end, when you're done, then you choose not to publish, you know, and you can always delete the video, of course, right? But to your point, I would go in and edit it and maybe tighten up that, remove the wardrobe malfunction. But, you know, people know it's live, so, you know, there's much more forgiveness for something that's live. If you're, let's say, you know, there was a women's march in Boston, right? So anybody live broadcasting there, they're going to get a whole bunch of stuff going on there. You cannot prevent that, right? So I think people have a reasonable understanding about what to expect in a live video, you know, mistakes and all. Now, Instagram stories. This is something else that's relatively new, and actually, so I'm talking about Facebook Live and Instagram stories specifically because these are tools you can use to create a high amount of awareness for your organization before, during, and after your giving day, okay? I talked about Facebook Live, how that creates a lot more penetration into the news feed. More and more people find out about you. And then also there's Instagram stories. Who's familiar with Instagram stories here, or who has actually published any on their page? Okay, so a few people. All right. So Instagram stories, I love Facebook. They're so relentless about the competition. So Facebook basically stole this idea from Snapchat. Okay, Snapchat. How many people are familiar with Snapchat? Okay. Who are parents here with a teenager? Okay, you kind of know about Snapchat a little bit, but you don't know why people are putting ears on their head and the little halo thing and the faces and they look like a cat, a dog. What is this, right? Snapchat exists so that teenagers can escape their parents. It's got a secret language. Snapchat has a secret language that even the teenagers may not understand, right? Hey, let's put on this, let's do a face swap. That's horrible. In many cases, a face swap is horrible, but they love it, and it's the most important thing is it's a place where teenagers, millennials go to escape the authority. And a key part of that is the photos and videos that disappear after 24 hours. Now, Instagram does this too now. So again, Facebook owns Instagram. They are a relentless competitor. They want to eliminate Snapchat from the marketplace. They probably won't, I have no idea. But they'll certainly steal their technology. I mean, not the code, but the ideas. So with Instagram stories, there are photos and videos that disappear after 24 hours. Now, why would you want something to disappear after 24 hours? Well, let me just explain what they are first. So they let you share photos and videos with followers. These are some examples here. So this is an organization, PETA, many of you are familiar with. They're filming a PSA with this cute little girl in front of a car, and they're talking about a dog. And all they're doing is they're simply taking pictures of this happening behind the scenes. They're going to publish them on Instagram. And if you notice in the upper right-hand corner, see this part up here which says Instagram, and there's little circles, okay? If you're using Instagram, maybe you can show your another person sitting at the table. If you go to Instagram and you basically go to the home screen, at the very top, you're going to see these little circles across the top. The circle exists because there's a published Instagram story that's available. So that this is where the awareness comes in. When you publish an Instagram story, you instantly get this visibility. This is on everybody's screen. And if you have a story that's less than 24 hours old, you will appear at the top. Once your stories expire, you disappear. Okay? So it's a way to get some, I would call it free visibility. Facebook doesn't give away a lot of things for free, but it's really great free visibility. But why would you publish something that disappears after 24 hours? The first point is that you create a much more intense sense of urgency. Okay? So let's say that, I'm trying to think of an example, but it says right here, if your people are going to act, they have to act now. If you publish a story and they're going to engage with it in some way, they have to do it now. It's going to disappear in 24 hours. So in a sense, the attention on something like an Instagram story is a lot more intense because the knowledge is this isn't going to last forever, okay? With Instagram stories, you can get and keep their attention. So the idea is like pay attention or you're going to miss out. It's going to disappear in 24 hours. And it's a way to kind of share more behind the scenes. So I just have a few examples I'll show you. You can publish an Instagram story. It's fairly simple. This is an older screenshot, but there at the top left, you click on something and you can either publish a photo or a video. And you can also publish photos from your phone or videos from your phone that have been recorded within the past 24 hours. Okay? So it's very limited amount of type of content you can publish. What they want is they want you to publish stuff that's happening now, like real-time stuff. Okay? Once the story disappears, your position on the home screen disappears as well. All right? If you go to publish an Instagram story, if you swipe down, you can upload a video or a photo. Some people don't know about that. They think that they have to actually take it right here and now. You can actually, like if you edit, say for example, a Facebook Live video, and you edit it so that you have a 30-second snippet or something like that, and you put it on your phone, that you can add to an Instagram story, okay? So I'm just going to show you some examples. So this, who follows Do Something? DoSomething.org. So these guys, they're always sharing really cool things that people can do that are creative, that engage, a younger set of their community. And in this one, and this is a story in order. And that's the other thing about Instagram stories, is when you publish a picture, it's in order. It's happening in order. And if, again, for people that use Instagram, maybe you can show your colleague, like, hey, here's an Instagram story. They're pretty easy to use and it's fairly straightforward. But in this example, this guy is saying, I'm so stressed out, school starts in a week. And then Sloth Puppet, I think is his name. He says, don't be stressed, Do Something will send you tips on how to deal with stress. Really? How? And then, take a selfie of what you look like when you're stressed, and then share your stress face on Instagram along with one of our stress busting tips. Okay, so, share your picture, use this hashtag. And then there's an example, super stress face. And then the last one is text your image to us and we'll share it on our social network. So there's a call to action at the end. So this is obviously a lot of preparation went into this, thinking, what do we want to share? How do we engage our community? These guys are doing stuff like this all the time. They're experimenting a lot with it. So here's an organization, Stand Up to Cancer, and they took advantage of a moment where a woman was coming in to discuss her documentary about her cancer story. And they said, well, why not take this opportunity to also just do a quick little interview for Instagram stories? So one thing I always tell nonprofits is don't create extra work for yourself just to play with a shiny new object, okay? If you're going to use something like Instagram stories, think about, well, what's happening already that we can just simply, share or simply take a picture of? What's happening already that we're doing? Don't reinvent the wheel. You kind of leverage your current events or current activities in-house. Now with Facebook Live and Instagram Stories, there's some element about giving people access to something that they otherwise wouldn't have access to, right? So you want to think about that in your organization. What are donors most curious about? What do they see? What would be interesting to them to see and to experience firsthand that they normally don't experience? Okay? PETA, here's that example from PETA. And that's Facebook Live and Instagram Stories. Any questions about those two? Who's going to do Facebook Live or Instagram Stories for their Giving Day? All right. You'll definitely have some really great ideas, for sure. One thing you can do is give a quick little update on your Giving Day. Here's what's happening. But, be prepared. So on the Giving Day, maybe schedule like 3 times, and in each time, give people an update. Here's where we're at. We need X more dollars, or we need X more people to support. Here's the URL. Make sure you don't miss out. And we have Barbara here, and she's going to share her story. And then Barbara shares her story about impact, that impact story. And that's it. That's short and sweet, right to the point. And then you could publish a couple more during the day. They're fairly simple to do, and you could do that with either Instagram Stories or Facebook Live. Instagram Stories have a very short window for video, though. You can't, although there is Instagram Live now, so you can actually publish live video through Instagram. Given the choice, so some people might be saying, well, should we do Facebook Live or should we do Instagram Live? It does depend upon your audience. So if you have more of your people are using Instagram, maybe do Instagram. If I had to place money on what you should do, I would say do Facebook, because more of your supporters are going to be using Facebook. Okay? So let's dive in a little bit more about the content calendar and about getting organized. And let's see, if I roll them, okay, great. Content calendars versus content queues. So content calendars are a way to organize your stories over time up to a specific date. So let's say your Giving Day is, and I don't know the date, but wherever it falls in the month, let's say it falls, May 2nd. May 2nd, okay, great. So you're going to start your calendar at basically mid-March or maybe 2 months ahead of time, okay? Beginning of April, April 2nd, because this is now 30 days ahead of time, that's when you want to get really serious about promoting your giving day, okay? So you want to, before April 1st, you definitely want to have a story. That's going to be the hardest work and the most important work you're going to do, is how do we craft a story that's really going to be the centerpiece for our campaign. The one story. If you have more than one, that's great, but you don't need more than one story. You can focus on one story and really tell it in a very powerful way, okay? And I've shared with you that framework. So a content calendar is a way to publish or kind of organize your content about over time, obviously. And a content queue, which is a little bit different. This is a method of kind of supplementing your content with just useful stuff, volunteer stories, you know, like the updates I was sharing before, right? The 5 type of updates you should always be publishing, news, be useful, you know, that kind of stuff. You can also use a queue. So don't feel like, I feel like a lot of organizations get into so busy trying to schedule each social media update, and it gets really insane. Something like a queue, where you're basically setting a schedule ahead of time, and the tool I'm showing you here is called Buffer. How many people use Buffer? I'm curious. Buffer, okay. I love Buffer. It's a huge time saver, a massive time saver. Instead of publishing each social media update as you find it or scheduling it, which takes a lot of work, right? Doesn't that take a lot of work? What you do is with something like Buffer is you create a schedule ahead of time, a scheduled queue. So for example, this is my Twitter schedule, and I publish through Buffer 7 times every day, 7 times every weekday. I can switch up these times, I can do whatever I want, but all I need to worry about is, I don't need to worry about when these are published, because this is going to automatically publish them. But what I do need to worry about is having enough content in the queue so that this continues to work, okay? So that's why this is a really great approach, is to have a schedule ahead of time, and all you're doing is finding really great content. You take a picture, share it. With this, something like Buffer, you can go, I can pick Twitter, Google+, I don't know who uses Google Plus anymore. Twitter, Google Plus, LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest. I also have Instagram we do. And you pick all those things and you publish it. Publish your picture. It doesn't publish, by the way, but it's queued up. And it will be queued up based on each separate schedule. So if I queue up something for Twitter, it might be published at 7 o'clock in the morning on Twitter, but 3 o'clock tomorrow on Facebook, depending upon how the queue is set up and how many pieces of content are in the queue, okay? Yes?
I think I once read that Facebook gives less weight to something that's queued up like that. Is that actually true?
No.
Or still true, or ever?
No. It wasn't ever true. Actually, it was kind of a misunderstanding. So the misunderstanding was that marketers were like, hey, let's just copy paste everything and publish the same literal verbatim across all social networks. And that's where the problem is that now someone on Facebook sees an update from you that says, blah, 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 please retweet this, right? So that's where the disconnect is the mindset of like, just kind of set it and forget it, and not really thinking about each network and kind of crafting the update for each network, you know? So for example, Instagram, you're going to publish a lot of hashtags along with your update, maybe 5, 7 hashtags. Facebook, you know, maybe not that many hashtags. On all the networks, you're definitely going to publish some sort of image, or, you know, video is going to be different for each social network as well, okay? How many people use YouTube, by the way? YouTube, okay. So YouTube is great. I would continue to publish videos on YouTube, but it's better to publish a video on, it's better to publish a video on Facebook than just share a YouTube link. YouTube is not a social network. It's a search engine of videos. That's all it is. You could say it's a social network because there's comments, but the comments are horrible anyhow. You would never want to read YouTube comments. They're just a bunch of garbage. And but it's basically a search engine for videos. That's all it is. It's not a social network. And people, of course, they share videos and so forth. People share it from YouTube. But if you want the engagement with your community, it's really going to start with Facebook. That's the core engine for word of mouth, actually. And that's been proven time and time again. Yeah.
Did you say that this kind of thing will not do the posting for you?
It will publish all of your posts for you. You still have to come up with the ideas, unfortunately.
Put it all in here and then it talks
You
to
put
all-
it all in here, and with something like Buffer, you can set up a queue, which is a predetermined schedule, like I said before, or you can schedule specific updates to be published at a specific time. So you can do both with Buffer. But a tool like this is a huge time saver, as you can imagine, with like managing content. Yes.
Back to YouTube, would it be safe to say that if you post it to Facebook, but you use a YouTube channel to just archive it,
Yeah,
is that
that's a great
appropriate
way.
use?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but think about YouTube as a search engine. So be really careful how you're titling that video, okay? Don't say, our 24th gala fundraising event or whatever. No one's going to search for that. Instead, use the keywords that people are using to find that video. That's what you want to look at. So think of YouTube as a search engine rather than a social network, okay? I'm going to switch gears. Yes?
Yes, if you have your, say, Twitter post queued up like that, if something happens in the moment, can you interrupt that and post sort of live?
Oh, yeah, you can always post directly to Twitter or Facebook or anything, even while Buffer's...
Even if that's the same moment.
You can always do that. Now, the one, I will say this, the one I can't think of the word, but anyhow, one thing to keep in mind is when you set up these queues and you have your queue filled, let's say you set up all your times and everything and you have lots of content, and you can kind of sit back, maybe even for a week, and it will just automatically publish stuff. If there's a major disaster or something that happens in your community or some big news, you want to hit pause, okay? So this happened, the Boston Marathon bombing 2 years ago. This was a nightmare, right? But yet, in Facebook, you still see like, hey, come to our fundraising party. Hey, do this. Hey, here's something total. You can appear tremendously tone deaf if you're not aware. So if you do use something like Buffer, just be aware that there may be times when you might want to just hit the pause button on it, okay? And just stop it. That may happen. Just be aware of that. But you can always publish directly to any other network, okay? Now let's see. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about email, okay? Fundraising with email. I'm sorry. Let me just figure this out. Okay, great. All right. So we're going to talk about email, but we're also going to talk about planning a little bit. And actually, so in the handouts, you have a workbook that you can use, and it's called the One-Page Social Media Marketing Plan. It's for anything, not just social media, but for anything, okay? And the plan follows a method, a foolproof method for social media marketing strategy. So when I say foolproof, I mean it's perfect for me, okay? That's what I mean by foolproof. And the method was actually developed by this couple, they're not together, they're not romantically involved, but they work together. They wrote a book called Groundswell, which is a foundational book. I recommend this to everybody. It was written in 2007, which is like 1 million years ago, but all the principles still apply. And they talk about a framework for a social media strategy. Now, most of you do not have any marketing experience at all. So when you hear the word strategy, marketing strategy, many of you just want to hide under the table, like, oh my God, where do we start? Is it something that's going to even fit in a three-ring binder? And my answer is yes, it's something that will fit on a single page, okay? All right? Now the method, it's called the POST method, and it was developed by Forrester Research. These guys are smart. But the brilliant thing about this method is not the method itself, because a lot of these are kind of tried and true ideas, but it's the fact that you can remember it. That's the brilliance behind this thing. The POST method. People, this is the order of operations for a marketing strategy. People, objectives, strategies, tactics. That's the order. People, always, every single time, all your future giving days, all of your future fundraising events, any sort of marketing communication you have, you always start with people. Who are we trying to reach? And it might be easy to answer, well, we're just trying to reach all the people that know about us, or all the people that care about us, and just a quick answer like that. But your people are donors, and even we can even dive down into donors. We have donors that give above a certain dollar amount, donors who haven't given in a year, donors who have given in a year, donors who give every single month, and so forth, right? So we can really slice and dice our audience in many different ways depending upon the situation, okay? So we need to ask that first question. What does your community care about? What passions intersect your cause? Who are they? What segment are we really talking about? All right? And again, your core audience that you start with is always your community, the people that you have an email for. If it's person's in your database, they're in your community. If they're in your community, they like, know, and trust you. To your point, you said they love you. If you have their email, that means that they love you. Or at one point in the past, they loved you. Okay? Objectives. How will this campaign matter to us as an organization? And what do we want to achieve? Having SMART goals, specific, measurable, and so forth. We all know that. And for objectives, I always recommend, having something that's measurable, obviously, but shooting low. Okay? So if this is your first time doing any sort of marketing plan, don't say, well, hey, this is so great. John did such a great presentation. We're going to double the amount of money that we raised this year. Okay? That's just a hope situation, which is really like a hopeless situation. Right? So you can't, that's a hope strategy. I hope we can do it. I hope it happens. It's not going to happen. So if you shoot low, which means, try to hit something that is very easy to hit in terms of a number, but go through the process, and that's really the point. Go through the process of people, objectives, strategies, tactics, hit that goal, celebrate, and then raise the goal a little bit over time. But just be really careful not to make the goal too high because people will get discouraged. If it's too low, you're really not stretching yourself. So, find something that's doable, like easily doable, all right? And then strategy, the strategy answers one question, really. It's a question of value exchange, which is the underpinning principle of all marketing, value exchange. You have to create value for your supporters for them to take any sort of action. The reason why they're going to give to you, right, there's an exchange, they give to you because they get something. That's why they give. They don't give to you because they think homelessness should be abolished. They don't give to you for that. They give to you because they feel that that's important to them. Okay? So they don't give to you for your reasons, they give to you for their reasons. It's important to understand that. So strategy is really value exchange. All right? So as a very quick and simple example, on your website, you might have something that says, join our email list, right? Unfortunately, there's no value in that. The value is for you. You might get an email. Join our email list. But from a potential subscriber, there's no value. No one out there is saying, really? Another email list? Oh, I can join another email list? Oh my, gee, I can't wait. Let me put my name and email in here. I can't wait to get that first email, right? Don't do that. Instead, as an example of the value exchange, say something like, join a community of people like you, right? Join the community. Get action alerts. Stay in the know. That sort of language, that's communicating the value. You have to sell. I know selling, or the word sell, is a dirty word for marketers, for nonprofits. And actually, I can say, in my experience, nonprofits, they tend to like the word communications. We're communications professionals. Communication, they don't like the word marketing. Marketing is a dirty word to nonprofits, I think, and it's not, the thinking is a little incorrect. Communication is very passive. We're going to distribute information and our job is done. Marketing is about motivating people to take action, and that's what we need to do. You're not evil. You're not trying to make people do something that they don't want to do. You're hooking into that desire and encouraging that action with marketing, right? By understanding behavior, motivations, and so forth. So the value, communicate value. And then tactics is really the last part, which is important because in many cases, it's usually the first part, okay? When I work with a nonprofit, sometimes the first question I get is, John, how do we use Buffer? That's the first thing out of their mouth. How do we post a video on Facebook? How do we use Facebook Live? These are all tactics. My answer to them is, well, as a highly paid consultant, it depends. That's the consultant's answer, right? It depends. It depends, right? It does depend, though, right? What are you trying to achieve? Who are your people? What's your goal? And then what is your strategy? How are you going to create value to get there? And then, now let's talk about the tactics. That should always come last, okay? So there is this workbook that takes a deeper dive into this whole process for you, okay? And there's a worksheet at the end. And you can make this your own, but basically you can create a very simple plan for your giving day. You might need a couple of copies of this because hopefully for Giving Day you might have different audiences. You might want to have one of these for your volunteers, one of these for donors, and one of these for people who haven't given yet, different audiences. Because you will have a different strategy for each one. Donors, current donors, what do we want them to do on the Giving Day? We want them to maybe upgrade their donation, maybe become a monthly donor at some point. We want our donors to give, yes, but we really want them to share with their friends, right? A person who's donating for the first time, yes, we want them to share, but they're new, so we'd rather just get that donation and start that relationship off and then have them share. So the emphasis is different for each audience, yes?
Can you talk a little bit about different types of objectives? For example, like a goal amount versus a goal number of donations? Like
Oh,
how
yeah.
you would differentiate that?
Yes, it's better, so public-facing goal, right?
Yeah, like.
Public-facing goal is better to talk about people than money, to be honest with you, okay? People aren't, if they say we had 300 people participated, that's much more encouraging than, we raised X number of dollars. So I would focus on people and participation over dollars in terms of objectives, Of course, your CFO is going to want you to have a financial objective, and for your CFO, you want to shoot super low. You want to totally under-promise and over-deliver for that person. Shoot very low, okay? So there's a plan. Audience segments, I mentioned before, supporters are not all created equal. Some are donors, volunteers, advocates, marginal interests. I'm hoping nobody does this in this room. Never add someone to your email list unless they give you permission, okay? Never say, oh, I just met this woman at the coffee shop. She would love to get our newsletter. Maybe she would, but tell her, have her opt in, have her, give you permission. Never add people to your database unless they've given you permission, okay? But we have many different types, right? And even donors are not created equal. All donors are not created equal. It's okay to have a favorite donor. We all have that favorite donor, that favorite supporter. But they're not created equal. The first-time donor is very different from a returning donor. If someone donates the first time, wow, that's amazing. If they donate a second time in a row, that's a miracle. Isn't it a miracle? Oh my God, you gave twice. Why did you give twice? You'd want to know. You want to know why they give again, right? And then you have monthly donors, people who come and they give reoccurring gifts time and time again. Major donors, of course, are different from an online donor. An online donor, $10, $25, $50. A major donor, $5,000, $50,000. They have different motivations. The one-time donor is interested in that story of impact. The major donor is interested in the story of impact, but they also are interested in the sustainability of your organization. So you want to view a major donor as a partner for the long term and a first-time donor as a first-time donor, which might become a major donor at some point in the future. okay? So you can actually, maybe segment your database by people by giving amount, by how many times they've given, and also, if you can, by program. If your organization has different programs, that's another way to do some fundraising, is say, support this program or support this effort in our organization. And again, people give for different reasons. So at some point, it's always good to survey people and ask them, why did you give? There's a literacy organization I was working with, and we ran a very interesting survey to really uncover the motivation, right? So the survey question, the one survey question was, are you interested in hearing stories about families learning how to read, adults learning how to read, or kids learning how to read? Which aspect of literacy are you interested in? And then they're able to collect this information on a donor level, individual level, and now they can segment their email list to send out stories based on that interest, right? That's what we can do. We can't do that unless we have that information, okay? Yes?
Is the act of handing over your email makes it right?
I would get permission, actually. If you meet someone at a coffee shop and they say, yeah, add me to your email list, just make sure that they, it's better to have them go to your website and join, actually. It's better to do that because you want to have them be motivated to join your email list, I wouldn't just add them to a list, Get their explicit permission, that's fine. If they say, yes, please send me your newsletter, then that's fine. That's good, Yeah.
I think a similar issue too is tagging people on your posts.
Yep.
Without permission.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't do that.
Negative feedback.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer, actually, for people when they get tagged and there's nothing about them in the post about them. There's not even a picture of them or anything like that. I would only tag organizations that are relevant to the post or people that are relevant to that post. And also, hopefully they're aware that, hopefully they're not surprised that you would tag them. So if it's a volunteer and they're at that event and it's a Facebook Live video and that volunteer's talking in the video, if you tag them, chances are they'll be like, oh, okay, they tagged me, So that's how I would approach it, is just make sure it makes sense, Now, I was going to talk about donation page, but for purpose of time, I'm going to skip this part because you guys are all going to use Kimbia, which is as a kind of a uniform, format and everything like that. But there are some critical pieces to a donation page, and let me see here. You can review them in the slides. The most important thing is to really focus on the story on your donation page. Also on your donation page, use second-person narrative. Try to avoid talking about your organization. Talk about your organization by way of your stories, all right? And use, again, second-person narrative. Give today, you can make a difference. You can really change people's lives, okay? There's one other tip that I had, let me see. One other giving options. Okay, let me skip down. Okay, because I want to get to the email piece, okay? Your fundraising emails. There's another workbook here. It's called the Email Campaign Planning Workbook that will help you guys craft out your email campaign for your giving day, okay? Now, your giving day, you're not going to send one email and you're done, okay? You're going to plan out a series of emails that you're going to send to specific segments within your database, okay? So, in other words, your email, and by the way, all of the emails will still contain that story, the core story that you're talking about, but you want to have a series of emails, not just one, okay? So, for example, with the breast cancer organization, we talked about Barbara, but we talked about different elements. What was it like when she found out she was first diagnosed? That was one email. Another one was her relationship with her grandkids and how they feel. And then a third one was a different angle. So different angles of the story you can share. Don't just send 3 emails that are literally the same email, okay? Take a different angle with each one, okay? So now, this is going to get kind of tactical about writing your email messages, okay? And these are steps, and you can follow along on the slides, but so what you want to do is you want to write 2 or 3 subject lines for each email message, okay? Now, what kind of subject line should you write? Here are some tips. You want to write a subject line that communicates urgency. You don't want to say, hey, support our nonprofit because we do really great work. You want to say, support now. Give now. This is urgent. So you have to convey some kind of urgency. How many people have a major donor that is very friendly? Okay, good. Work with that person to leverage a match, and I would do that ASAP. If you can get a match, a donor to make a gift of, say, $10,000, now you can instantly create a sense of urgency. So now your fundraising message is, hey, for our giving day, every dollar you give it'll be doubled. And this anonymous donor has come forward, they're going to double it, but only until this date. That's the brilliant thing about a match. And you know what? For you development folks, the major donor, they're going to say, whoa, she's so smart. She's using my money a lot better. She's making my $10,000 go twice as far. She's using it as leverage to raise money from all the other donors. So that's a smart use of that major donor. It's a smart relationship. So create urgency, a deadline. Scarcity is another big one. That's why I think like an in-person event is often really great, because you can always say there's limited space. You can always say there's limited space. You can say that because it's true all the time. Okay? Keep them guessing. Another idea with subject lines, and I'm talking about subject lines, is to tell them like half the story or say something that's unexpected that keeps them guessing. So I worked with a breast cancer foundation, and one subject line that we came up with, which actually had the highest open rate for about a 6-month period, was pink has a new color. So pink has a new color, but pink is a color. So there's so much discomfort and dissonance. You just resolve it with a mouse click. That's all. My point is that the purpose of the subject line is not to tell people when your event is. It's not to tell people anything at all about the dates, the details, anything like that about your event, your location, the name of your event, or anything like that. It's simply to get people to open the email. You're just trying to sell opening the email. That's the only purpose of the subject line. Okay? So, tell them about that, keep them guessing. And actually, you can look at, I have several examples here. Important announcement from Barack Obama. Now, this is from a while ago. So, important announcement. Is it important? I don't know. He says it's important. I should at least open it and check it out, and I could judge for myself. But he's got me to open the email. The number one email, by the way, from Barack Obama, that was a very famous kind of email campaign that he did. Or not, he didn't do it, but the agency did. Number one email that they had from the sender was Barack Obama, and the subject line was, hey. That's it. That was the number one email, okay? So, imagine, right? You get this email from Barack Obama. It says, hey, don't keep me hanging, Barack. What do you got, right? You're going to open that email, okay? Okay, so telling them like half the story. The idea with the subject line is, so this is a good screenshot here. So this is from one organization, or the one campaign, and they really like short emails. My favorite in this one is Ebola. That's the subject line. Okay, Ebola. You had me when you said Ebola. Right? But what they do, what I like in this example, is that they focus on the length to set themselves apart from the competition. Who's the competition, by the way? Who are you competing with? You're competing with a million other people sending your donors emails. That's what you're competing with. So you have to think about, how are we going to stand apart? So you need to think about that from a raw attention standpoint. When someone's scanning their email, here's what I do in the morning. When I get up, I go to my email, I select a whole bunch of emails, and I delete them.
Right.
Who does that, right? You do not want to be in that delete. process, okay? You want to somehow communicate value or get their attention at least so that you stay alive for yet another 5 minutes, and then they can read your email, okay? So these guys do it by saying, well, let's write a super short subject line. Keep it super short. That'll get us some attention. I've seen other organizations use emojis, emoji characters. That stands out in inboxes. It's really great. Saying something that's very counterintuitive, like today's newsletter. I'm not going to get into details about it, but I'm speaking at Cause Camp in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I did this kind of stupid, crazy video about riffing on Lincoln. Like, Lincoln, Nebraska, it's where Abe Lincoln was born. And I went off and I talked about Lincoln Park, the big, the rock band. And then, so Lincoln Park, if you know the band, they spell their name Linkin, okay, not Lincoln like Abe Lincoln. So I said Cause Camp in Lincoln Park, and I misspelled that in the subject line. So I'm going to go later and see, but my thinking is I want to try and create some sort of issue where someone's clicking like, oh, this guy doesn't know how to spell Lincoln, or what does this mean? And then they open it and then they understand, oh, okay, I get it, Lincoln Park, blah, blah, blah. You have to read the email to get it. But the point is to think about something that's going to kind of catch people off guard or get their attention to some degree, okay? And write 3 subject lines for each email. There's a tool here which will help you improve your subject lines or your titles of blog posts or whatever you have. And ironically enough, it's got the worst name for itself. It's called the Emotional Marketing Value Headline Analyzer. Okay, it's the worst name possible for anything on the internet, but it works beautifully. You type in your headline, your subject line, and you can get a score. And it will tell you if your score, if it's an emotional headline, if it's attention grabbing and so forth. And you have your great ideas for your subject lines. Why not spend a few minutes extra to try and get a higher score and test them out here and improve that before you send it out?
Free?
Okay? It's free, yeah, totally free. Yep, it's called the Emotional Marketing Value Headline Analyzer. I'm sure you can Google it. It'll be the first thing up there because no one else would name that. No one else has that name on the internet, I'm telling you right now. Select the best sender. So in your email marketing software, you do have the ability to change up the sender name, not the email. So in the screenshot, all of these emails are coming from one email address, but if you notice, the sender name is different. And this is an organization, Kid No Hungry. They're not just doing this because they're bored. They're doing this because they realize that the sender name influences whether someone will open the email or not. Do they know this person? Do they trust them? And so forth. So change up the sender name.
And how do you do that?
What's that?
How do you do that? How do you change that?
So in your email marketing software, by the way, you never want to send out your emails from Outlook or Gmail or anything like that. Use something like Constant Contact or MailChimp, those tools. And in those tools, as you're writing your email, you will be able to choose the sender name. Do you want it to be from your organization, executive director, and so forth? A fundraising ask, I think it's great if you can have it come from a development person, an actual human being, an executive director, development person. Organization name is fine for like your regular newsletter, okay? So let's talk about the emails themselves. I mentioned this again and again and again. Tell a powerful story. Here's one of my favorites actually from Charity Water. It's about a woman who fell down a well, okay? I mean, right away, really? That's a hook, okay? So you've got to tell a powerful story. Convey urgency in the email message itself with deadlines, with matches, with a need, demonstrate the need, some kind of deadline. Make it second person narrative, I mentioned that before. The call to action, remember I mentioned before that donate is the worst word to use, okay? The reason why is when you think about it, just think about how you react to that, almost like subconsciously. Donate, it doesn't communicate value. There's no value in it. Donate. Can you donate your pen to me? Am I going to get it back? Is this, how long are you going to have it? It's open-ended. Donate just doesn't have any oomph to it, okay? But unfortunately, a lot of nonprofits get really hung up with, well, where are we going to put the donate button on our website? That's the first question that people ask when they want to redesign a website. Where are we going to put the donate button? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. because hopefully you're sending people to your donation page with other channels. You're not just hoping that they're going to find your website and see that really bright red donate button. That's not how to do fundraising online. But in terms of your call to action, I have, maybe I should copyright this, but I call it the verb impact formula for call to actions, right? So what you do is you start off with the verb that's about your cause and actually what your supporters want to do. So the call to action is intended really to connect the donor to the impact, like include them in the narrative of the fundraising thing. So instead of donate, so the verb is like the action, obviously, right? And then the impact is what they want, the ultimate result. So I'll give you some examples. Feed, that's a verb, feed hungry children, right? So that is much more powerful than donate. Feed hungry children, a big button, feed hungry children. Why does that work? Because that's what the donor wants to do. The donor doesn't want to give money. They know they have to give money, and that's part of it, and there's no problem with that. But really what they want from that emotional place is to feed hungry children, right? Stand with justice. Stand for equality. How many people follow HRC, not Hillary Rodham Clinton, but Human Rights Campaign? They're all about stand for equality. They will hammer that over your head time and time again, and that is what they use for their fundraising. Stand for equality, right? Stand with stop the hate. That's another one, stop the hate, That's an action. That's what donors want to do. So that's the language you want to use, right? Give clean water. That's another one from Charity Water. Give clean water, right? As a donor, would I rather give money to this nonprofit or would I rather give clean water? I'd rather give clean water, to be honest with you. And that's what donors want. They want to be part of the impact. So your purpose of your call to action is to connect that donor with the impact. So use that formula, verb impact, right? Keep it super short. Don't say, support a local community with, struggling with mental health issues, right? And please do not use jargon, okay? Do not use jargon. The behavioral health community, don't talk like that. Just use the language that they would use, Help someone who's depressed, Prevent suicide, stop suicide. That's suicide, the big organization that deals with that. They talk about stop suicide, And that's that verb impact. Stop suicide. That's implied in there. In your email messages, too, ask 3 times. At least 3 times. Okay? Now, some of you might say, wow, we don't want to be too pushy. But you will be pushy if you say, donate now. Donate now. Donate now. That's pushy. Okay? But if you say, feed hungry children, and then later on, you can make a difference in a family's life today. That's another way to saying that. And then P.S. Until Friday, we have a matching donor to double your donation dollar for dollar. That's the third one. So in this example here, actually they have one big, huge call to action at the beginning. It's a link. It's a huge link. It's a paragraph. The whole paragraph is linked to the donation page. They have another paragraph. At the very bottom, you're not seeing it now, but there's a P.S. And there's also at the very top of the email, there's a big image. Okay? So with your email marketing software, you have these templates that you can use. Always use the mobile template. And the mobile template looks like it's a single column. Starts off with an image at the top that you can choose. You put that image in there. But always make sure the images in your fundraising email are all linked to your donation page. All right? If someone taps on something, and by the way, design your emails for your mobile device. Send it to yourself. Read the email on your mobile device. Don't even look at it in the browser because it doesn't matter in the browser. It matters on mobile. If you can't read it, if you have to zoom in, if the links aren't working, you want to find that out on your iPhone. You want to test it out on your iPhone or Android. All right? But the last thing you want to do, if someone receives your fundraising email and they see an image and they're moved and they tap on it, and that image just opens up in a separate kind of image window, you've lost that opportunity, really. That's why you have to link everything to your donation page. Every single image in your email. Don't include a million images, by the way. One big image at the top, a big banner with a story in it, a person's face, and I've given you several examples. Make sure that that's always linked, okay? But when I say ask 3 times, I'm not saying repeat the same thing over and over again 3 times. I'm saying ask for people to take action 3 times.
Within each email.
Within each email, yeah, within each email. And someone might be asking, well, John, how long should the emails be? And I'm going to say half of what you've written. Half the amount of what you've written. And I'm serious about that. So I'll work with a client and they'll write a series of fundraising emails, and every single time I say, cut these in half. Cut them by 50%, all right? The only copy that should be in the email is copy that supports the action, and that's it, okay? If you don't want to say, hey, we also accept gifts of stock. No, that's not important. That's not in the email. Hey, did you know this fun fact about whatever? Does it support the effort to get them to click on that link? If not, do not include it. Less is more. And especially when they're looking at your email in something like this, you've got to get right to the point, you know? Start the opening with a story, and include those 3 calls to actions. And you have a few examples here. I always like the PS as well. PS is like this casual thing, like, hey, it's cool if you don't donate, PS. It's very casual, but it's actually pretty effective, and it's almost like a last chance to get people to click. Yet another way you can ask people. That's why I said ask 3 times at least, because you can always ask a 4th time in the PS, okay? For fundraising emails, I definitely recommend split testing. How many people do split testing with emails? Okay. Split testing is basically letting your email subscribers vote for the best subject line or vote for the best email message. Okay. So the way split testing works is, and this is especially true for fundraising. In fact, I'm going to say this. This is money in the bank. Split testing is literally money in the bank. If you are not split testing your fundraising email, you're essentially saying it's okay if we don't really make as much money as we want to, right? Split testing, what this does is this enables you to test out, 2 or 3 different subject lines, and subject line is a pretty easy test to do. And by the way, all of the tools like Constant Contact, MailChimp, they all have features that allow you to do this. But the process is fairly simple. You're going to send out a test, basically 2 or 3 different email messages. They're all the same. They're literally identical, except for the subject line. There's a variation of one element. In this example, it's a subject line. You're going to send that out to, say, 5 to 10% of your list, and then you're going to wait about 6 hours, maybe 12 hours, and you will have a winner, okay? You will say, wow, people really liked subject line B. Subject line B in this example received 25 clicks as opposed to 1 with subject line A. So really, we sent out this email to 5 to 10% of our list. We still have 95% of our list to send out a message that's a lot better, right? You're almost guaranteeing to increase the open rate if you do this. It's what I would call a no-brainer. It doesn't take a lot of work to do this, but don't just go on your gut. Don't just say, well, this is so clever, I love this. Or if someone on your board thinks that they have a Harvard MBA in marketing and they wrote the subject lines, those are going to be the worst subject lines, by the way. I guarantee it. And so say, yes, thank you for your subject line, but we're still going to test it. We need to test these things. And of course, they're going to have their tail between their legs, which is always awesome. And then, oh yes.
So are you seeing, I heard you doing research, just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah.
So are you seeing to send out a test or ask them, do you like this? Are you
No,
doing that?
you're not. I said it's like letting them vote. But what you're doing is let's say you have 1,000 email subscribers. You're going to send out an email. It's really your test email to say 100 people. Okay. And and of those 100 people, some are going to get one variation, some are going to get the other. So it's a random kind of test. And then, based on the results of that test, you take the winner and then you send it out to the other 900 people, okay? The 10% or the 5%, they're not going to receive 2 emails, by the way, okay? They're just going to receive your original email, and that's it. Whether they received your really boring subject line or not, or the winner or not, doesn't really matter. The point is you want to get that initial test with a small group and then send that out to the rest of the people, okay? So it's like you want, especially with a fundraising email, if people aren't opening it, you're dead. You're dead in the water. You have to have them open it. The other set of problems is, maybe, if you're not split testing, and actually most people here aren't, at least start with the subject line, okay? And then you can move on to testing the body, if you want, at some point in the future, the body of the email. But at least start with the subject line. That's one of the biggest factors in the open rate, okay? Send a final message to yourself as well. Don't miss out on this. Send it to your own iPhone, send it to an Android, and just make sure that you can read it. You don't have to zoom in and pinch on anything. The forms work, the links work, and all that stuff before you send it out to everyone else. Another big mistake I've seen, a client did this a long time ago. They sent out this email, and it had a really high open rate, actually. It was a great subject line, but it had almost 0 click-throughs, okay? So that means people opened the email, but no one clicked on it to go to the donation page. And I said, wow, let me see that email. What happened? Basically, the email was just a massive image, okay? It was a huge image that somebody designed in Photoshop, including all the text and everything, and the call to action and the buttons and all that, all in one single image that they included in the email. So the email was only an image that people had to click on, and unfortunately, a large image will not load on a mobile device. And so they open the image, it's a blank screen, they don't know what to do, they delete it. People will delete the email almost instantly if they can't read it, So don't include, the takeaway there obviously is don't include one massive image and that's it. Use a combination of images and text in your email, okay? There's a worksheet in this workbook that I gave you. And let's see, we're going to finish up with a welcome series, which is a good finisher. So it's very difficult to retain donors. I think most nonprofits will agree that retention rates are not at all what we want them to be. On average, nonprofits retain about, some studies say about 30%, some studies say a little bit higher and 40%. So what that means that out of 100 donors that give the first time, only 30 come back the second time, okay? So that's not a good thing. So donor retention is really critical, and I think we'd all agree with that, okay? The key with email is you can actually do some really great donor retention by using email. And by the way, I'm not going to dive into this because we're limited on time, but there are 7 factors that make donors come back. And they're pretty straightforward. The donor feels like she's important, they feel appreciated, they get updates about the impact, they know what to expect with each interaction. These are the key elements for retention, for keeping people coming back, okay? But what does this look like in your email? So what you want to do is before you start your fundraising campaign, you want to have written a series of emails that go out automatically to new donors, okay? And so here's the series. I'm going to show you this on the screen. The first email is going to say, thank you. First thing is thank you. Second thing is, you just made a really great decision because we want to lower donor remorse. Donors do have remorse, especially if you don't send any email, right? Right? You make a donation, they get some random receipt, and that's it. There's no thank you, no nothing. They don't know what to expect. A little bit of doubt. That's not likely that that person will give again. So thank you. You just made a big impact. Here's what to do next. Okay? So join our Facebook page. Join a community of people like yourself. Share this campaign with your friends. Actually, for the Giving Day, I would recommend that the next step in this welcome email is share this with your friends. You can even say, I've seen this done before. Donors Choose does this. They say, share this with 3 friends and you will triple your impact. Something like that, very specific. Forward this email to 3 friends and tell them why you gave. Something like that. That is really effective, especially on a Giving Day, okay? The second email that you're going to send in the series is another one reporting back about their gift. And you want to send this out between 30 and 60 days after that initial gift, okay? So these are emails, by the way, that you're setting up in your email marketing software. Some softwares call it like a triggered campaign, some call it a drip campaign, but these emails are automatically sent out at a specific time based on that initial action, which is the donor making that donation, okay? Yes?
Can more than one person in an organization have access to MailChimp and all
Yeah.
this stuff?
You can, yes,
Okay.
definitely. You can create separate users or just have them log in with a username and password, you know? Yeah. So the second email should report back about the gift. And this does increase retention. If I get another email that says, hey, thanks again for your support last month, we want to, say thank you, we really appreciate it. We want to give you an update on what's been happening. To date, we've been able to feed X number of families. To date, we've been able to do X, Y, or Z. So basically, it's an update reminding them and reinforcing the fact that they made a good decision, okay? The next one, you want to, in the third email, you want to invite donors to give again. You want to do this before 90 days, okay? Some people are saying, oh my God, we don't want to bother our donors. We just asked them 3 months ago, we don't want to ask them again. But the research actually shows that if you ask someone to give again within the first 90 days, you are twice as likely to retain them as a donor, okay? And when you think about it, as fundraisers, we somehow have this headset on that we're going to bother people, right? We don't want to bother them. They just gave $25 in July of last year, right? Well, that was 6 months ago, all right? They want to give again. If they are passionate about your cause, yes, they want to. So they see it as an opportunity to support. If you're telling the fundraising story the right way, which is story and connecting the donor to the impact. Do they want to give clean water again? Yeah, they want to give clean water again. Do they want to feed hungry children again? You bet. Do they want to donate again? Maybe not. Do they want to give you more money? Maybe not. But they definitely want to have an impact. So it depends upon how you frame the message. But definitely send out a third email within the first 90 days asking them to give again. Okay? And, obviously give them a reason. A good reason. Yes?
Is that just a straight out ask, or if you have a cycle where you have like 6 events a year where people give in some way, are you hooking them into the next thing that you're doing?
Yeah, you could say, yes. Actually, I would line this up with your current fundraising plan, your strategy, the dates, right? So, hey, thanks for giving in January, or thanks for giving at Valley Gives. It's so great. We love it. Guess what? We have this thing coming up. Here's another opportunity to give clean water, to eliminate cancer, to do whatever So definitely invite them, but yes, tie that to another event as well, if you can, So that's it. And guess what? It's like 3 after. Thank you so much. By the way, thank you very much. And if you have any questions at all following this, you can always send me an email at john@johnhaydon.com. Just mention that you were here and whatnot and how we met, and then I'm happy to follow up. But also, make use of these. Michael printed these out and made them available, so definitely make use of them.